Hi, Aotearoa New Zealand needs your help. You may have seen this online. A haka performed by Hana Rāwhiti and other members of Parramatta in opposition to the Treaty Principles Bill. A bill being proposed by this wannabe dictator, David Seymour. I want to educate you today on the current situation in New Zealand and what's going on. So stick around, I'll get you up to speed, tell you what's going on and why you should care. This isn't just about the rights of Indigenous people, but the rights of all New Zealanders, the rights of all Indigenous people, and the rights of everyone living under Western philosophies. So this all kind of starts with Aotearoa history, like 101, so I'm going to give you a quick rundown of how we got here in the first place. In 1814, the first British ships reached New Zealand. Settlers slowly started piling in until 1833, Britain deemed its first official British resident to live in New Zealand. His name was James Busby. In 1937, without authority from his superiors, James Busby drafted the first Declaration of Independence for New Zealand. It asserted the independence of New Zealand with all sovereign power and authority resting with the hereditary chiefs and tribes. Fast forward to 1840, and the Treaty of Waitangi is signed, Te Tiriti o Waitangi and Te Reo Māori. Now, Te Tiriti covered a lot, but a point that is crucial to get across is that there were two versions of the treaty signed, and one in English and one in Te Reo Māori. The one in English, the Crown and the government have full sovereignty and full power over New Zealand. They have full authority to do whatever the hell they want in Aotearoa. And in the Māori version of Te Tiriti, they still maintain chieftainship and tino rangatiratanga of the land. They still maintain control of the land, and that's the version they signed. It's what they believed they were getting. Whereas like the English were just like, okay, well, we own the land now, and that was kind of how it worked moving forward. The English slowly took over Māori land through a lot of different avenues and kind of duplicitous means. But on May 21st, 1840, William Hobson declared sovereignty over all New Zealand, including the North Islands, and the North Islands on basis of cession and through the Treaty of Waitangi, and over the South Islands by right of discovery, which is bullshit. Māori had their land and sovereignty stolen by the Crown. The Crown employed many strategies to take the land either legally or by force, in most instances creating some stupid law or text to justify the blatant stealing of land, like framing Māori people for crimes. They taxed people for having thatched roofs, which is a tax that really only affects Māori people, and allowed them to legally take a lot of land under the guise of like law or legality, even though it's pretty amoral to do so. There have been many efforts made in recent years to dilute this history, this fact, the truth of the entire situation, but those are the facts. The Crown stole Māori land, and the Māori never ceded sovereignty. That is the fact of the matter. Now that you understand the facts, let me run you up to current time. Māori people are still overrepresented in negative statistics across our country. Analysis of data from apprehension through to prosecution, to conviction, and finally to sentencing confirms that Māori people are more likely to be apprehended and more severely punished than non-Māori. Suicide rates for Māori are so much higher than the rest of the population. Māori people are more likely to be harmed by cops, with Māori people 7 times more likely than Pakeha, white people, to be on the receiving end of police force, which is an absolutely appalling statistic. Māori people also receive less or lower quality healthcare in our healthcare system. So now that you understand our history, you understand where we're at, would someone care to tell me as to why the fuck this dumbass David Seymour, in just the last year alone as Vice PM, removed the Māori Health Authority, which helped ensure Māori people would get the care they need, removed all Māori words from government, names and places. He helped remove Three Waters, which is a system of water management that gave Māori and iwi more rights over the water, and is now proposing this 9-page fucking cum rag that he calls the Treaty Principles Bill. This bill is to quote-unquote set out the principles of Te Tiriti in legislation, right? That's the dream for this bill. It's a really shitty dream, but that's the idea. What it's really doing is limiting the rights of Māori people over the land and allowing the government to full power to govern, and the Parliament of New Zealand has full power to make laws. Now, the reason why David Seymour wants all this is because he's a racist fuckhead. This bill directly breaks a legal promise made in Te Tiriti and erases the rights of Māori as the indigenous people of this land. But even beyond that, even beyond the identity politics, the real reason why David Seymour is pushing the Treaty Principles Bill is because it is the last thing standing in the way of full agricultural exploitation in New Zealand. I think that's what this comes down to. He wants to colonize even further. He wants to exploit the land as much as he can. And there's a reason why New Zealand is so beautiful. And it's because of our indigenous people using Te Tiriti to protect our beautiful taiao. This is Percy's Reserve in my hometown in Lower Hutt. And the fact that this beautiful land, David Seymour is completely fucking comfortable turning into mining and drilling land to further capitalism is disgusting. This place is beautiful and it should be maintained like so many different places in Aotearoa. Without Te Tiriti, men like David Seymour will do all they can to sell our beautiful country out to companies so that they can make millions few of us will ever actually fucking see by mining our land, drilling and overfishing our moana, and destroying Papatūānuku in the name of money. That's all it comes down to. They are trying to destroy our nature in the name of money, and the treaty is the last thing that stops them from completely doing that. It's silly to say, but it's true. With great power comes great responsibility, and we as humans have dominated the earth. We now have a responsibility to protect it. We need to be protecting the earth even more than we are currently. And David Seymour is trying to push us back in time, back to mining, back to all of these things that we spent time protesting against, things that we thought New Zealand was better than. I have seen our current leaders support the genocide in Gaza. The English have starved and killed my ancestors in Scotland and Ireland. American settlers slaughtered the actual fucking Americans, and so many more atrocities through history have been committed, all in the name of exploitation and colonization. We must not only move on, but right these wrongs. We have to hope for a day where there are no more wrongs to right in our society, where our land is treasured and respected, where we don't have to live in fear of the decisions that our leaders make. We must decolonize ourselves. But hope alone will not get us there. On November 19th of 2024, I woke up bright and early and organised with my friends and over 100,000 New Zealanders in the largest protest in Aotearoa history to defend the rights in Toitū Te Tiriti. And thanks to Whaia Hana, all eyes were on New Zealand at that point, and we got to share our voice for the future on the world stage. And I hope that a lot of people listened. This fight is one of liberation. When we decolonize our minds, we open up to ways of living outside of colonialism, outside of capitalism, outside of these systems in which so many of us suffer. We are fighting for a future with fair and equal treatment for all, and it starts with decolonization. Our futures are linked. The fates of the indigenous, the fates of the minorities, the fates of the working class, the fate of the very planet is all tied to how we move forward. Our future lies not with our oppressors, but with our community, our aroha nui, and our mana in solidarity with each other. We are on the forefront of the future, where we can finally meet the needs of our community, where we don't have to live in fear of the government or the police, where we don't have to decide between basic human rights for the weak. The future is decolonized, and I urge you to join us. Educate yourselves on your own indigenous people. Educate yourselves on other indigenous peoples, and fight for their rights. Toitū Te Tiriti, ngā mihi.
Okay, let's talk about the sort of the wealth gap in New Zealand. Top 1% seemingly have about 20%, the bottom 50% have about 2%. Is that gap acceptable to you?